Welcome back to the How to Write a Book podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be interviewing the lovely Miracle Sims. Miracle Sims is the wife and mother of one, and she's a versatile talent. She received her associate's degree in theater at Gordon College in 2006 and has been acting, writing, singing, and songwriting independently. She is currently the owner of several business endeavors, including Miracle Plays, Unwine, Self-Care, and Sips Spa, as well as being a really prolific author. She was lovely to talk with, to be honest, and her outlook on how to approach creativity was inspiring. She's the author of Madame Miraculous and the Messy Library, The Cultivation Period, A Single Christian's Journey, and The Juice, a 30-day Bible study, along with a couple other amazing books. So let's dive in. Thank you all so much. And we look forward for you to jump into the How to Write a Book podcast.
Welcome to the How to Write a Book podcast, the show that helps you plan, write, and publish your book, even if you're a beginner or just feel like one. Now, for your host, she's written over a dozen books and helps others bring their books to life. Here she is, Maciel.
Hey there, writers. Let's take a beat to talk about a special announcement. So November is your month of transformation. Get a 1-hour coaching session with me by choosing one of these 3 options, or all 3. Option 1, join our Patreon for $1, which will support the show. Option 2, book a $1 coaching session on coach.me. Option 3, leave an Apple Podcasts review. Send a screenshot to my email and get a coaching spot. You can do all 3 and get 3 hours of coaching with me. Find all the links in the show notes. Act fast. This offer is only valid for November to celebrate National Novel Writing Month. Thanks.
Okay, welcome back to the How to Write a Book podcast. Welcome so much, Miracle Sims. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having and inviting me. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, definitely. I know we just talked about, your diversity of books. So I was like, perfect fit for the How to Write a Book podcast. I love it. Well, I want to do a little bit of an introduction for you, and then I'm going to throw it over to you. So wife and mother of one, Miracle Sims is a versatile talent. Since she received her associate's degree in theater at Gordon College in 2006, she's been acting, writing, singing, and songwriting independently. She currently owns several business endeavors such as Miracle Plays and Unwine, Self-Care, and Sips Spa. And you're the host and creator of the podcast God, Sex, and Love. I love that. We're going to talk about that for sure. And you're the author, of course, of several books, including The Cultivation Period, A Single Christian's Journey. Oh my gosh, Miracle, you are prolific. Those are just my words. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, well, thank you. That sounds, I don't know if I've ever been called prolific before, so I like it. It has a ring.
Love it.
Well, as you said, I'm Miracle Sims. Look, I'm a small-time girl with big dreams. I think the only thing I can really add to say about all these things is that, one, I'm thankful God has just given me the different, opportunities, and I've just been walking through them, specifically since the pandemic. We all know what happened there. But I really started to, focus on, I guess, working and walking in purpose, and it's been just an amazing thing. The whole testimony is an amazing story by itself, but a lot of those endeavors that you guys just heard of got established a little bit after that, honestly. And so, there's so much to say and tell, but like I said, small-time girl, big dreams, came from a town called Jackson, Georgia. There's still no Walmart there. That's how small it is.
Wow.
I grew up with this, love for, speaking, and as well as, performing and things like that. That's the budding stages of that part of my life. And then at some point I started to, need another way to express myself. And so, that's where writing came in. I started with poetry and writing songs. It more so started with writing journals. journaling my ideas and thoughts or things like that, keeping up with my life, right? And then ultimately that led to poems and then songs. And then I guess now everything you guys see today, from the books to shows to I just recently produced a movie that just came out. So I mean,
Oh, wow.
that's good. There's so much to talk about.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, like on the topic, what film did you just release?
So it's a film. It's called The Cast Movie. The funny thing about it is that me and my friend, we played every character in the movie. So I played all the women. He played all the men. Honestly, it's a great testimony of like what God can do with two people, because like it wasn't the original vision, because it was all kind of like this mockumentary about like what it's like in theatrical productions or specific types of theatrical productions. I feel like people have this like when they hear you acting and in theater and things like that, they're like, oh, it's like glorified and things like that. And I just kind of wanted to give people a sneak peek of at least some of the things that I've experienced over the years, which has not been the best. But at the same time, I mean, I can laugh at the things now, but that was the inspiration basically. And yeah, I mean, it was an 11-year journey. That's, again, a whole other testimony and story by itself, but we just released it fairly recently, like a few weeks ago. So yeah, thecastmovie.com, you guys. Look,
that's awesome. I mean, some of the fans know that I'm in live action production. I just transitioned to animation production just recently. So I was like, oh, we're similar. I love that.
Yeah, stay connected then. Let's
yeah. Yeah, I know. It's definitely a journey. 11 years. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. That is
years ago. Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations. It's not easy. It's not easy to produce and make your own film. The way to go.
Like, yeah. I mean, that story alone is definitely huge because, like I said, that wasn't the original vision. There's like over 8 characters in the production. And, you know, obviously as I was writing, I had certain people in mind because I knew actors over the years. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hand pick people to be in it, da, da, da. And just nothing panned out the way it was supposed to. But at the same time, again, I do believe that things happen for a reason. So it did pan out the way it was supposed to, but nothing the way I originally thought it would. That's a better way to say it. So, but yeah. I'm thankful for my friends. Shout out to Kelvin. He did an amazing job at all of his characters. And it was funny when I was in front of the camera, he was behind the camera, and vice versa. And so I think there's a lot of funny things in the show or in the movie itself, but one of the real funny things is at the end when the credits, it's literally just me and his name. This character, his name. This character's my name. It just, I mean, all that little stuff is funny to me. But yeah. Check us out, y'all.
Yeah, I love that because literally that's how Hollywood kind of goes. It's like, oh, put a Band-Aid on it, fix it, whatever. And like literally, it's like whatever has the show go on. Like just get it done, you know. So, well, I mean that's amazing, and maybe we'll say that for another episode. I love that. So tell me, you have a diversity of books, a children's book, you have a journal, like a reflection of the Christian singles life. I mean, just how and why, you know, does it come to you? Tell me about like what's going on. I love it.
Well, here's the ironic thing. So the first thing that I wrote, technically, outside of, again, my thoughts and poems and songs and things like that over the years, the first book that I was intentional about writing is what is now known as the Cultivation Period, A Single Christian's Journey. I wrote this back in my 20s. And it was literally, it became a memoir of sorts. It's kind of like me sharing my life up to a certain point, sharing the things I was learning, dating. I was praying for marriage, asking God where my husband is, but also single, horny, and all that as well. I talk about all the things on my podcast you mentioned and my talk shows. So, I mean, listen, I just feel like Christians need to be more open and transparent about the ups and downs. And so as a Christian single woman, it was hard. You know, I'm like, Lord, listen, I still have all the feelings. You know, what am I supposed to do with them? I know what I'm not supposed to do. I get it. But in the meantime, where's my man at and all that, you know? That's what this book was inspired by. Actually, me and a friend of mine at the time, I called my time in Florida the cultivation period. I was there for about 5 years, single on my own, all that type of stuff. And she was married, or she still is married, but at the time she was married, and I was the one single, and we were kind of looking at each other's lives like, you have it all, you know? And the thing is, it was like, that was the inspiration, because she said, well, maybe we should write a book about this. And, you know, I'll write my part about being married. You write your part about being single. I did my part. She never did her part. But anyway.
She's like, you can do it.
Yeah. So by the time I had it done, I realized that it wasn't in my mind. Originally I was thinking this is going to be like a self-help book, or, you know, steps to a guide to live successfully single, whatever. But ultimately I realized that it was more so my story and sharing like what got me to the point of where I was, you know, and why I was handling dating the way I was and all that type of stuff. Right. And so, that's pretty much what the book was about. But it took me a long time to figure out how to publish. So I had this thing written and typed and all that, but I was like, how do I publish? And I was seeing bits and pieces over the years, but, I just couldn't like put the puzzle together for whatever reason between, again, my 20s and now my 30s. Now, ironically, again, y'all know, again, it had been like 2021. I came across this group. I had just actually started putting out animations for my son. I made these little songs that I made. I'm all married and stuff now, y'all. Look what the Lord did. Anyway, so
Love it.
Little song animation things for my son. And I came across this lady. She was doing a coloring book course or something like that. And I was like, oh, well, I just made these animations for my son. Maybe I can make him a coloring book and X, Y, and Z. I got into the coloring book, or I joined her group and ended up learning, I think the first thing I paid attention to was like how to make journals and stuff. And then after going through her course, I realized, wait a minute, I have everything I need to publish. And so, because by that time I had already kind of built a small, what I call my international dream team. I had already had a couple of guys I was working with my talk show and stuff like that. And I know one of them mentioned that they can do the formatting and whatnot of books and whatnot. And that just went over my head until I took the course and then realized, like, wait a minute, I already talked to a team. I got a team already that could format my stuff. And so the first thing I ended up publishing was my 30-day Bible study journal that's inspired by it's called The Juice, and it's inspired by my daily inspiration segment. And so as I was going through the course, she was saying things like, you know, you need to make things that coincide with, you know, what you have going on in your life and that can establish your businesses or things that you already have. So again, this was something I already had, my daily inspiration. So I was like, okay, I'll make a journal that goes with the book. So this was the first thing I published, which again, like I said, this was written first. This was back in, you know, in my 20s, but I ended up publishing this first, which I feel like was so much more meaningful, because I was like, okay, Lord, first thing I'll publish is to get people closer to you. Okay, cool. So then, soon after that, I think after I published that, and then that process was so smooth because my team was on point, and so I published these two at the same time. I published the coloring book that's inspired by I have this women's group on Facebook called Unwine, Self-Care, and Sip Spa. And I was just, because once I became a mom, I learned the importance of me time. And so I made this group to remind us ladies, let's take time to unwind and stuff like that. And so, and I was looking at the group one day, and I was looking at everyone's pictures. I'm like, these are so many amazing, beautiful women in here. Like, and that inspired the coloring book, that.
I love that.
At the same time, I was working on this as well, because I know y'all probably like this girl. But
I love it. Love that. Yes.
But this goes with my wine business, because I had before the pandemic and before the books and before the talk show and all this other stuff, the only thing that I had established once the pandemic hit was my theater business, which was on hold because you can't do shows when everybody was locked in, and then the wine business, which I had an online wine business. So that's the only like quote unquote hustle or thing that I could do once the pandemic hit. And so I started to kind of put it out there like, hey guys, I can do virtual wine tastings. I can do da-da-da-da-da. And that kind of got some traction or whatever. And so, I made the wine tasting journal because I'm not trying to act like I'm a connoisseur. You know, I was just kind of getting into wines and stuff, but I made the journal for other people like me. Like, so I call them the wine amateur wine tasting journal. It gives like basics of wine tasting, and it has like, you know, quirky quotes and just ways to keep up with the wines that you like, and, you know, wine pairing ideas, things like that. And so I made both of these at the same time. Nice. And then, so all of this is happening in 1 year, by the way. Let's just put that on the table.
I love that.
Finally, after I did those three, I was like, wait a minute, what about that book I already had? Okay, I'll finally publish this one.
I love that.
Yeah, I finally published this one at this point. I do have a Spanish version of this, but that came out the year after. And then the next one that came after the Cultivation Period, I followed the children's book, the first children's book, because I'm working on more or whatever, but this is the first children's book. It's called Madame Miraculous and the Messy Laboratory. It's inspired by this character that I've created and portrayed for this company that I used to work with. It's pretty much a science edutainment company, make science fun for kids type of thing. And, I just kind of coined the name Miraculous because when people see my full name, they think that's what it is, and it's not. But I'm like, I could finally use the name Miraculous since that's what people think of anyway. And yeah, I just, created the book about this character. So hopefully more stories will be, centered around her. I call her like the Amelia Bedelia of science. So, this first book is unfortunately inspired by my life, but yeah, but also it's like a way to introduce the lab rules to like younger kids that might not be in science lab yet, but they can at least pique their mind about thinking about science, and then also they'll come into I think it's a good conversation starter for like introducing them to the rules and should you be running in the lab? Should you be eating in the lab? Should you be, all Madame Miraculous does all the things. And we see consequences to those things that she's doing in the lab. So it should be a conversation starter for kids and whatnot when it comes to that. And so much more. I mean, I think the only thing I could say is that I just try my best to use my gifts and use the thing. And I think I have caught a publishing bug because I'm like, I want to just make everything I think about now. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. That is so amazing. Somebody else also mentioned like a publishing bug. So how would you feel before publishing and now? How would you describe that feeling?
Like I'm just so glad to know the process now. Cause again, like before I learned the process and realized, I guess, how easy it was or whatever, I was just confused about like, well, what side should I pick and what should this? So shout out to Crystal Swain Bates. She is this amazing author here in the Atlanta area that decided to just get online and teach a whole bunch of us how to do this, and whatnot. And her content that she's created and whatnot helped me get to my next level. And I know plenty of other authors that's in her group that have published or whatnot. So, shout out to her for actually like answering some of those questions that I had over the years. And since then I've been helping other people publish their books and whatnot as well. So honestly, it's been a skill where I've always wanted to do it and to publish and things of that nature. I just didn't know the exact way. But once I took that course through her or whatever, I started to get the understanding. And like I said, it's been a blessing to be a blessing to other people that they don't have to take years to get their books created as I did. Like I'm helping other people, now get their books done. Probably as quick as mine have gotten done. I mean, I've kind of paused on mine. I do have one in the works right now. But I have a lot of other ideas and stuff too, but so I'm still kind of in the process of making more of my own creations, but it has been a blessing to help other people make theirs too. So yeah, man, it's been a cool journey becoming an author, finally.
I love that. Yes, congratulations. And I love that you are embracing like the difference of topics, children's book, journals, wine journal. That's amazing. Just congratulations, first of all, because a lot of people that they might feel like, maybe just that, or, maybe just this, but you're like, no, let's just share the expertise.
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of the inspiration, like, again, the only thing that had been written was this. So everything else, and this was like, partially written by the time I started getting into publishing. So all the other ideas, the other 3 ideas that I shared with you guys were like recent things that I had brainstormed once I took that course. Cause, she was like, part of her course was saying like a brainstorming session and things of that nature. She's like, create things that coincide with what you already have established. So I'm like, okay, what do I have established? I have the wine business. I have, the self-care women's group, and I have God, Sex, and Love, so I'm thinking about all of those things. And that's where these new creations came from, mm-hmm. Thinking about what could coincide with those things. And yeah, I mean.
Love that. Now, you mentioned something earlier. You said you had a dream team. Can you tell us more about this team that you have?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. So, my international dream team. First of all, shout out to Fiverr because this is an amazing platform that you can meet people from around the world, work with people from around the world. I'm on there. I have a few things. I mean, I read children's books on there. There's some other things I do on there. I actually give dating advice and whatnot as well. So,
Oh,
if you guys want to hire me on Fiverr, you can.
I love that. I love Fiverr too.
Yeah, like it's such a great resource. And so, the first gentleman that I met, I ended up, in a part of my international dream team. So the story behind that is once I started the podcast, a few months in, finally I got the opportunity to do the talk show, which was the original vision for God, Sex, and Love. I thought it was a talk show. Apparently it's more so like a network, but I guess God, does what he wanted to do. I thought it was a talk show all these years. But anyway, so, I was doing the podcast. I had started doing daily inspiration just to get the idea about, God, Sex, and Love and the idea just out there finally. Again, a pandemic. And so then, a few months into doing that, I got the opportunity to make the talk show. And so, I was trying to decide. I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to do this virtually, because we're all at home and all of this type of stuff. And, but I was like, let's find a way to make it happen. And, I realized, okay, I can do this. I can do that. I can, buy this program, whatever. But then, one thing that I kind of felt like I needed to do was like get someone to edit it. Cause I was like, I'm familiar with, editing videos and whatnot, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm going to be hosting it. I got to dress myself. I got to do my own makeup. I got to find the guests. I got to do all the things. Like, I'm going to at least get some help. My husband thinks I'm superwoman. He's like, oh, you could just do it yourself. But I'm like, no, I'm going to at least get an editor because I'm like, I got to at least get an editor. And so I could at least film it and send it to that person, let that person edit it and then put it out, because I was committing to doing it weekly, basically. And the first person that I hired was a gentleman named Sammy in Pakistan. So shout out to Sammy. That's my brother, one of my Pakistan brothers. It's been since 2020 that we've been working together. Now, and he's definitely like family at this point. I know he's getting married soon and all this type of stuff. And he's like, oh, like I know. But yeah, I mean, he's the first amazing gentleman that decided to join me on this journey of creating God, Sex, and Love. And so, he was, editing the talk show for a while. And then once, the next year when I started to look into doing books, which was 2021, he introduced me to, a gentleman named Arsal. So he's also in Pakistan as well. So I started working with both of them regarding the show and the books and all that type of stuff. Eventually, at some point, I considered the idea of getting a virtual assistant because I'm like, okay, I'm posting all this stuff online every day. I'm doing it all myself on my end. Let me get some help. So, ended up hiring this lady that's in Kenya. Shout out to Elizabeth. Woo! She's over in Kenya right now. And so they were like the main ones of the International Dream Team. Once I started to do once I made the children's book, the illustrator she was in Russia. I think she moved now, but, so shout out to Daria in Russia, originally. And so there's been these amazing people, right? That international people that only maybe two of them I've seen on video. But like the rest of them, we've only communicate like this, by, typing or whatever, but it's like they're right here with me. It's like I can hit them up right now and then be like, hey, we got a new book, or hey, we got a new idea, or hey, can you, handle this, da-da-da-da. And it's like, the guy has given me this, I call them my international dream team because Lord knows that I've been trying to establish teamwork here in the States or even in my home state or and everything like that for so long. And it just never panned out. Like, I mean, with the exception of the gentleman I told you about that I made the movie with, like he's here. But he's one of the few people that I feel like, no matter what, I can call on and, we can get some stuff done. But for whatever reason over the years, like different other people, it's like meet people, you think we're going to work together, you think it's going to go well, and then just falls by the wayside and you're like, what's happening? Like, why can't, so it's amazing. It blows my mind the fact that again, these people, Kenya, Pakistan, Russia, these people are the ones that's persisting. Like these people are the ones that's like grateful and happy to assist versus, people. But anyway, I mean, I'm thankful for it though. I'm like, okay, my international dream team, apparently the dream team was international. God, that's what God has revealed to me. It wasn't about creating them people here with me. It was creating people that are willing to do work regardless of where they are. So
yeah.
I can go on and on.
Oh, totally same page, because I have two people right now on my team. One handles like social media stuff and getting that done. Another person handles podcasting and things like that. And it's so helpful. And they're so, and so then I was like, oh, what if we did this? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. You know?
Yes. Like I said, it's sad because you don't, like, again, there's people, when I meet people, and I'm like, because even like when I said earlier with you, like, oh, let's collaborate, I really mean that. Like, in my mind, I'm like, who know, the way, and I don't know if I just think too highly or whatever, but in my mind, I'm like, if I meet you, you say you do animation, whatever the case is, I'm like, oh, you could be my animation person. I hit you up anytime I need some animation. Because I'm that loyal to, the people I work with and whatnot. But sometimes people don't feel the same, or, or whatever, or they do for a time and then they don't, or, I understand that some relationships are seasonal. I'm learning to be okay with that as well. So all of that stuff plays a factor, but, it can still be disappointing sometimes because you see a vision and you think that everybody can see a vision too and that they want to come along and, assist or whatever the case may be. And it's upsetting sometimes to find out that, the feeling isn't mutual or whatever, but that makes me even more grateful for the people that are there. Right. Like I definitely noticed the people that have been with me and like, cheering me on and all this stuff through my, I guess what you would consider to be winning season. I see who's here. I see who's not here, and that hurts too. But at the same time, I start to appreciate and try to show more love to the people that are here. And, yeah, that's just another thing that I've had to learn along the way. But, yeah, international team. That's what my dream team was, international.
I love that you also kind of hit on the disappointments that can happen as well. And that was going to lead me to my next question. You have several published books. You also have a lot of other things that are out there, like your film and stuff. So I'm assuming you get critique, you get feedback, right? You get people who respond to you. How do you deal with, the feedback that's not always awesome? The things that make you want to like,
Yeah. Well, so years ago, I think Miracle would have handled it a lot better, or whatever. But unfortunately, long story short, a lot of stuff happens with me in my life. But long story short, the gentleman that I was with right before I met my husband, he was one of those ones that kind of like nitpicked and critiqued everything. So imagine like a year of dealing with somebody. Rah, 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 everything's wrong with you for a year. So by the time I got out of that relationship and, met my husband and stuff like that, I was kind of probably dealing with some PTSD in regards to critiques and things of that nature. And so it took me some time to like, understand, okay, my husband may be just saying something. He's not just, he's not trying to punch me with his words right now, things of that nature. Right. And so when it comes to critiques, like, so as an actor, like, critiques wouldn't really bother me because I'm like, well, you know what? At the end of the day, you may not like my character, but that is not me. That's my character. So, oh well. You know what I mean? Now, it was a little bit harder to take, like, seeing critiques and things of that nature because I feel like, one, that's my actual voice, and two, singing is one of the only things I have in connection to my father because he passed before I was born, and so I knew he used to write, and that's something I sing. Songwriting and something that I do as well. So it's like, it's a little touchy to hear critique about music for me because I'm like, that's hits a little bit more home than the acting, I guess you would say. But when it comes to the rest of my stuff, I mean, hey, I guess I'm at the point now where I realize that, this is my art, at the end of the day. And, people can say whatever they want about, art or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, again, it's my art and I can do it the way I would like to do it. And yeah, and people may not fully understand it, but for those that do and appreciate it, then they can, have and appreciate it. If those that don't, I guess don't purchase or whatever. Like, we have to kind of, I guess, get that confident about the things that we create because, again, we are artists in that aspect. And so, there was a lot of things, for example, that the lady I was telling you all about, Crystal Swain Bates, she was sharing about, like, becoming a, successful, children's book author, X, Y, and Z. You should write books about this or that. And one of the things was, like, for example, I guess writing a children's book about a kid. But I was like, you know what, this is my art. And I said I got a book about a lady named Madame Miraculous. At the end of the day, I'm going to make my book, you know what I mean? And those that appreciate it will appreciate it, and those that don't, won't or whatever. Sure, I could probably add in some type of kid or, something later, but we got to get that confident about the things that God give us, because there's only one you. So at the end of the day, there's probably nobody else that could write a Man of Miraculous book or could have created that character, because it was inspired by my own life and me in particular. And so, I hope that's a good example, but yeah, we just got to get that confident about, again, the things that God gives us and stuff. Like we like to kind of puff up other people's ideas for whatever reason. And I think one of the things I've been learning, since I've been on this journey of creating my own work and doing things like God Sets in Love and everything like that, is that I have to take my visions, my dreams, my things just as seriously as I would if I was waking up and doing a radio morning show or whatever, So I think that shifted my mind a lot when it comes to all of that, critiques and stuff. Like, you can say whatever you feel, that's fine, but that doesn't mean I have to agree or take that in and so personally or whatever.
Yeah.
I hate to ask you a question, because I feel like I have to elaborate on stuff sometimes, because it's like, I've been there where the critiques are hard. I'm not trying to say I haven't, but when it comes to my art and stuff at this point, it's like, I don't know. A recent guest came on my show and was sharing about, it's the process of art that makes it great, not necessarily the art itself,
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and that was last week. Someone, a gentleman came on my show and was sharing about that, and it fits right for today, this conversation. So, I hope that helps somebody.
Oh, I have a feeling it does, and I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And speaking of, so can you just tell me, what's your show about?
God, Sex, and Love. All right. Well, honestly, like I said, it's more than a show at this point. It's more so like a channel or a network or something, because there's other shows under the umbrella of God, Sex, and Love. So, but the inspiration for it was, again, my single Christian life. Like, basically, back in the day, during the cultivation period, in my 20s, living as a single lady on my own in Florida, I was like trying to stay on the straight and narrow, and trying not to fool around, trying not to have sex, all that stuff. And I'm like, having a hard time and stuff. A lot of stuff was going on. But basically, one of the things I was trying to do at that time was look for content centered around these subjects. And when I looked for Christian content, I found people having conversations, but then they would only go so far with the conversation where I couldn't fully relate, because I'm like, so y'all ain't horny? What are y'all doing? Because I want to know what you're doing to make it. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to hold on, but, there's a lot of stuff, again, that happened in my life. Y'all can read all about it in my book and stuff and get a better understanding. But for the lack of time here to say everything, basically, it was a struggle for me to hold on or whatever, or try to. So I was trying to find things to help me. And so then on the flip side, I would watch maybe secular talk shows and things like that. And of course they talk about everything, but then they're not coming from the perspective that I need to hold on to morals and values. They're like, yeah, go do your thing, girl, whatever, So
Right.
Ultimately, seeing those two dynamics at that time, and this is back when YouTube was monitoring the amount of length your videos could be, and I actually had to upload videos. I started to get on YouTube and just kind of put myself out there. I'm like, hey, I'm single, I'm Christian, I'm horny. If anybody else is out there, you're not alone. And I just kind of got online, started to have these conversations about different things about that. And then, so I would say that was the beginning stages of what is now GSL. Because eventually, between then and now, I kind of was coming up with this, or I had this idea to make a talk show where, people could just be open, honest, and transparent about whatever. I thought it was going to be a girl chat type of show or whatever, so that's why my logo was pink and all this type of stuff. I thought it was going to be more like The Real, except Christians, I guess, something like that, But ultimately, by the time, again, the pandemic hit and I actually launched the idea, the first concept that I came out with was the daily inspiration, which is pretty much me just sharing my Bible study. I was challenging myself to study. That's a whole other thing. But over the years, I have been, I feel like God was telling me, hey, you need to study more. You need to X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, and read the Bible verse of the day and be like, I studied. And you're like, no. So finally, April 1st, 2020, I decided to be intentional about getting up in the morning, studying, and sharing whatever I study as inspiration. And I've been doing it ever since. Didn't know I was going to do it so frequent and so long, but it's been a life-changing experience where I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I'm just honored by some of the stuff that like comes to me to even study in the morning. And then sometimes I don't even write anything down when I'm sharing in the morning. All I write down is maybe like the Bible verses and whatever quotes that I want to share or something like that. But whatever else y'all hear me say on the juice, for example, is things that God give me. Like, and sometimes it blows my own mind. I'm like, oh, this is on a whole nother level, or whatever. But it's again, a life-changing experience where, I hope that anybody is encouraged and inspired to do it for themselves. Because at the end of the day, like, we can always go and hear a sermon or listen to somebody online or whatever, but it's nothing like reading and studying for yourself to get, that better understanding or whatever. And so that was the first thing I kicked off with God, Sex, and Love. And then, like I said, a few months into doing that, I came across this other company that was looking for shows, and I pitched my show, the God, Sex, and Love concept to them, and they wanted me to do it. And so that got me into the habit of making a weekly talk show. So now I call that the GSL Talk Show. So the daily inspiration segment is just something I do in the mornings. You might catch me in my robe, whatever, But the GSL Talk Show is something where I'm having conversations with people like we're having today and things like that, where, we've had panel discussions, we've had couples come on and share their testimonies. So many amazing people have been on now where a lot of topics and things and questions that I've had over the years have been answered through GSL. So I hope that people go and check out the content and know that it's available now. Like, conversations that weren't around back when I needed them are now available on God, Sex, and Love. And one of the most popular ones is like, what should we do as believers with, when we get hot and bothered and things of that nature. And that's like one of the most popular videos. And that was one of my main questions back when I was single, like, what do I do? and stuff. And I'm just thankful to the people that have come on and they've been open and they've been transparent, and the people that appreciate it. Like, I've had some little, not say too many naysayers, but I've had people that still, I guess, question the idea because I guess because it's called God, Sex, and Love. They're like, ooh. But I'm like, well, hey, I believe that God created sex, and I believe a lot of our issues with sex and marriage and relationships and all this stuff is because we try to leave God out. So here I'm going to, in this platform, we're going to incorporate God into everything, and we're going to have conversations about everything, including God, Sex, and Love. And so that was the whole thing. I mean, it's not that I just talk about sex all the time on there, but I just wanted to be intentional about saying that, hey, we are going to talk about it too. So that's what it's become. I mean, there's other show concepts and stuff. I'm trying to get it out there. I'm trying to get a dating show out there, see if I can help some Christian people if they want to get, have a dating experience. I'm trying to get that show concept out there. I'm taking, people to submit their information. That's going to be called Virtue Date. So hopefully, email me at godsexandlove@gmail.com if you want to be on Virtue Date, and things like that. Cause we might, match make you up with somebody. You never know. We might hook you up, I don't know. But,
I love that.
And hopefully many more show concepts to come. We've reached 1,000 subscribers, so we celebrate that recently. There's over 1,000 videos on there now, so there's plenty of content, and things like that. We definitely have reached some other amazing milestones and whatnot as well, but I hope I answered the question. But that was like the two main shows and where they came from, and yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I can't wait because I have a few friends that I'm like, I will be happy to send your way. I'm just like, let's get them on that path. I love it. That's amazing. And Miracle, you have so much experience. You have so many great things. I would love to have you on the show again, just to talk about, where you're heading next and things like that, because you are somebody who you don't let things like, you don't overthink things. It seems like you're like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it. And I feel like it's actually pretty unique. A lot of people don't do that,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm sure that everyone else, oh, sorry.
No, I guess I think I've observed that as well. Like, I didn't realize it was until, I've been trying to motivate people. And then I'm like, oh, I guess yeah. So.
Yeah. And I want to know, people, and I'm sure others here on the podcast, I want to know, where can they find you? Where can they get more Miracle Sims?
Well, the best place to go is actressmiraclesims.com because that has links to everything. You got to see all my endeavors, links to the books, links to the movie, links to all the stuff. Actressmiraclesims.com is the best place. If you want to go straight to God, Sex, and Love content, you can just go to godsexandlove.com or follow us on YouTube, any of those places. Actress Miracle Sims on the different social media as well. But yeah, actressmiraclesims.com. Best place to go. Has everything right there on a nice link tree type of page.
I love that. I hope that you are open to coming back in the future too, because this was great.
Yes, and you can come on GSL as well. I mean, look, don't be scared now. Just because we call God, Sex, and Love don't mean you can't talk. You can talk about whatever you want on GSL.
Yeah. I would love to. Everyone knows here I'm like faith-based, and also I thank God every day for my man too, so I'm like, all right, and I'm getting married soon, so I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, we need more great representations of kingdom marriage and whatnot, because that's another thing too, girl. I know we can go on and on, on my subjects. But, I mean, marriage has been so, like, downplayed these days. Like, there's a lot of people that are happy and thriving. Don't get me wrong. Like, you got to follow the right people, I guess, on social media. But a lot of times you hear people talk so negative about men and about marriage and all this, where you're like, that is not my experience. I don't receive that. Like, me and my husband, we're not perfect. We're humans out here. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade him for the world. I feel like I definitely married the right person. And so, yeah, that's what you want to have in life, man. Make sure you get the right person. I pray for your upcoming marriage.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, we're cool. Well, this has been fantastic. Think the How to Write a Book podcast says thank you, and we can wrap out here. Thank you again, Miracle.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the How to Write a Book podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you want to keep up with me and my work, check out the website blackheartedstudios.com. That's www.blackheartedstudios.com. And follow me on Instagram at Massiel Writes. That's at MASSIEL Writes. As a book coach and publisher, I'm passionate about helping aspiring authors bring their stories to life. So if you've been dreaming of writing a book and don't know where to start, head to my website and let's chat. You get a free 30 minutes on me. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks.